You can hear me then. You just don't have the benefit of my face, I guess. So I'm going to proceed and keep trying to get the video going. So maybe it's better that you can't see me. So that's a good thing. Um, I'm going to start with a little prayer, and we'll get right into it. Father, I just thank you for this time together. And Lord, in this time of technology, we do experience bumps and bruises, but Lord, everything does seem to work out. Lord, just to be with us tonight and help us and guide us as we go through this time and take away from the study that which you want us to take away. In Jesus' name. So you guys can all hear me. All right, so what I wanted to do tonight is a little bit different from what we went through the last couple of weeks, where we touched on the rapture of the church, and this week I want to spend a little more time on begin with some scriptures in chapter 13 of Revelation. And then I thought it would be a good time, a good opportunity to talk about this great reset, because I think this is something that's extremely significant. And it's interesting. I think you'll find it interesting where this new administration that's coming into office stands on this. So let me just begin by reading some scriptures from Revelation 13. And I know we've been through a lot of this before, but I want to begin in verse 5 of Revelation 13, where it says, "The beast," which is a reference to the Antichrist, "was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies, and to exercise his authority for 42 months. So that 42 months is just another way of describing the last half of the 7-year tribulation. So this is a reference to the last 3.5 years of the tribulation, when Antichrist will have this image of himself placed into the Holy of Holies of the rebuilt temple. He opened his mouth to blaspheme God, and that's, as we said before, is where Satan is coming from. He wants to elevate himself above the Most High, and the expectation that he will have for Antichrist is that the whole world will worship him, and that's what's going to happen during the second half of the tribulation. And this is where Antichrist is going to come on the scene, and he's going to have total control of the entire world system, the economic, social, political system. He's it. He's going to be like king of the earth. And he will, at that point in time, all of the nations of the world will have come under his authority. So that's really what happens at the midpoint of the tribulation, when he gains complete control. And it says that he was given power and I'm in verse 7 now, power to make war against the saints and to conquer them. And he was given authority, and here we go, this is where we get the idea, or the promise, if you will, the guarantee that he was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. So there we have it right there. That's where it is confirmed that Antichrist will have complete control over the entire earth. And he'll have all inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast. And so this is what happens at the midpoint. And remember, as we read in Daniel chapter 9, verse 25, it says that Antichrist will enter into a covenant, probably a peace treaty, with Israel that will be intended to last for 7 years. But at the midpoint of the tribulation, that's the 3.5-year mark, he will turn upon them. At the beginning, he's going to allow Israel to reinstitute their sacrifices and their offerings in the temple, which will sit atop Temple Mount. We don't know exactly how or when that's going to happen, but interestingly, I think as we've said before, everything that the Jewish people or the Jews need to do to re-implement their sacrificial system is in place. They have identified the Sanhedrin. They are in the process of identifying and having created a red heifer. They have to have a 3-year-old pure red heifer that is confirmed by a rabbi that they would sacrifice, they would kill, and make the red heifer into a paste, if you will, that would be used to cleanse the people in some fashion. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but the red heifer is being developed. All of the harps and the chalices, and even the high priest, the family of the high priest. The high priest will have to come from the descendants of Aaron, and they've been able to identify the people or the descendants of Aaron. Amazing what they've been able to do. So everything for re-implementing the Jewish sacrificial system has been put in place. And I'm going to try something here. Bob just suggested. Whoops. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. Okay, anyway, I can't seem to get the video, but he is going to be an image of himself is going to be placed in the Holy of Holies. So he's going to have complete control over the entire world. All inhabitants will worship the beast, all whose names have not been written in the Lamb's book of life, belonging to the Lamb that was slain from the creation of the world. And then if we go down to verse 11, then I saw another beast. This is the false prophet. He is going to be second in command, if you will, to Antichrist. He'll be Antichrist's right-hand person, and is going to be the leader of a false ecumenical church or religious system that's going to be in place at the time or the second half of the tribulation. It says he had 2 horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. So dual identity there. He's going to be demonically inspired, but he's going to look like this religious leader that people will obviously flock to. He exercised all the authority of the first beast on his behalf and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast. So that's his role, is to help to prepare and to put in place the system whereby the world actually worships the Antichrist. And he performed great and miraculous signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of men. Because of the signs he was given power to do on behalf of the first beast, he deceived the inhabitants of the earth. And that's kind of what I want to talk about tonight, is this whole idea of deception. Very significant. That it plays in and has so many roles in the end time, God's end times plan. He ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. He was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast so that it could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. And so what the false prophet's going to do is to have an image of Antichrist, probably some kind of robot that's going to be utilize artificial intelligence, I'm sure, somehow, to be put in the Holy of Holies. And those that do not worship that image will, as it says here, be killed. He also forced everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on the right hand or on his forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of the man. Now, interestingly, if we flip over to chapter 14, what we find is that actually 14, I want to start here in verse 9. A third angel followed them and said in a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast, this is the mark, takes the mark, and receives his mark on the forehead or on the hand, he too will drink of the wine of God's fury, which has been poured out full strength into the cup of his wrath. So this is the wrath of God. This is God's wrath, which we talked about. This is not the wrath of Satan or the wrath of man. This is God's wrath. This is the day of the Lord that is going to take place during that 7-year period of tribulation. It's going to be horrific beyond anything that could be imagined. He will be tormented with burning sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and of the Lamb, and the smoke of their torment rises forever and ever. There is no rest day or night for those who worship the beast and his image, or for anyone who receives the mark of his name. This calls for patient endurance on the part of the saints who obey God's commands and remain faithful to Jesus. So there you have it. What that says is that anybody who takes the mark during the second half of the tribulation is doomed. They're going to be cast into the lake of fire. There's no coming back from that decision. But yet the ones that don't take the mark are going to be the believers, and most of them, or many of them, are going to be executed for their faith. But what I wanted to focus on is that it's vital that that there be a one world system, government system in place in order for Antichrist to come on the scene. The reason I wanted to spend a little time on this Great Reset is that I believe it's a precursor or just a demonstration of a coming one world system. And I've done a little research on it, so if you'll bear with me, I'm going to try to read through some of my scratched up notes here to kind of put in perspective where we are with this Great Reset. So what is the Great Reset? The Great Reset, and we've mentioned this before, originated with what's known as the World Economic Forum. And the World Economic Forum has as its goal, it consists of many of the world's elites, and I'll identify a few as we go through this, who are committed to resetting the world's economic system. And again, go through a couple of interesting things that they have come up with to help to achieve that. But really, this Great Reset is just nothing but code speak for a world socialistic system, possibly even communism, but at a minimum socialism. Because if you're going to overcome and defeat our capitalist system, the solutions to that, or the substitute for that, is clearly socialism. So that's what this is all about. And I'm going to suggest, as we'll see in a moment, with some writings and some things that have been stated, that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and many in the administration, Buttigieg, as we'll see, who just named Secretary of Transportation, and John Kerry, who's been identified as the energy czar, have strong ties with the World Economic Forum. And so you're going to see a lot of cooperation, if you will, between the World Economic Forum and this new administration. Now, I'm not going to read into that. I think I've reached the point where I've just about come to the point where I believe that Joe Biden will be put into place, will be inaugurated on January 20th. I don't think there's much left or many opportunities or any opportunity for Donald Trump to upend that. So we are looking at a new, extremely radical government coming in, and the only possible solution or help to this problem would be if the Republicans take both seats in Georgia. If they don't, then we're basically in very serious trouble. We're in serious trouble anyway, because the economy and really what's going on with the economy and so forth. I'm not sure that we can ever recover from all of that, but that's another subject for another day. I am becoming increasingly convinced, if you think about the ones that are behind all of these lockdowns and literally destroying the lives of restaurant owners and many small business people, that it's all part and parcel to this plan to move us toward the Great Reset. But at any rate, let me just go through some of these notes, because I think some of it is pretty interesting and plays into what's going on and really kind of leading toward or leading to this one world system that Antichrist will arise from. Remember, he's the little horn who will come on the scene at the beginning during the first half of the tribulation. The sealed judgments are open, which is where we'll have wars, and there'll be famine and pestilence and disease and earthquakes. 25% of the world's population during the early phases, probably the first half of the tribulation, are going to be killed. And then at the midpoint, from the midpoint to the end, is when things really get bad, primarily for Israel, but also for those who do not take the mark of the beast during the second half of the tribulation. But a couple of things that I wanted to go over, which I think are pretty interesting. First of all, there was a Great Reset call that took place just on the 16th yesterday. And what they talked about was trying to come up with ways to build upon the momentum that has started. You see, this whole COVID thing is, as many of them have stated, including Prince Charles being one, and Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, have stated that, as well as the current head of the World Economic Forum, that COVID provided us, and I believe it was Prince Charles who said, with a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we may never see again. And it's not something that they want to go away. Many are pushing now for a continuation of the lockdowns, even after people have taken the vaccine. It's just an opportunity that they say that they've never had before. So starting with the vaccines, they need to make sure that everyone around the world, this was part of this call that occurred on the 16th, is, quote, treated equally. In socialism, that's called egalitarianism, where everybody, with the exception of the elite, there's two classes of people. The elite, which are the leaders, and if you remember back in Revelation 6, where we get into the time of famine and hyperinflation, that it says that it'll take a day's wages just to buy 1 quart of wheat, which will be all that will be available to feed an entire family, basically enough to make 1 loaf of bread. And so a whole day's wages to buy enough barley or wheat to feed a family, which is, again, one loaf of bread. But it states in there, in that same passage, that do not destroy the wine, which means that there will be people left during that period of time who will be the elites of the world, the ones that will be taken care of. Just like if you go back to the time of the Caesars or other dictator, if you went down to Venezuela today, Maduro leads a very good life, but the people of Venezuela are literally trying to survive by ravaging and savaging through dumpsters and that sort of thing. So that's why I believe that what we're seeing here with socialism is exactly what we read about in Revelation chapter 6. It says the website, the World Economic Forum website, is something that is a real eye opener. But it says that we are one world. One world. That's what it is. It's developing and bringing together all of the countries, all of the peoples of the world under a one world system. It's called globalization. And it's because of globalization and his resistance to it, I believe that Donald Trump has been attacked unlike anything we've ever seen. Now, I'm not saying that Donald Trump by any stretch of the imagination is perfect, but he upset the apple cart for that 4-year period that he was in place. And now we have a new administration coming in place that's much friendlier to what's going on with this Great Reset. The Great Reset is a radical plan to transform the economies of the world. It's the most radical plan seen in more than a generation. For decades, the rallying call has always been, or has been for the last several decades, climate change. That's the thing that they were trying to get their arms around, to bring the world together, that the climate is being destroyed because of man-made pollution, which, just to think about that logically, I'm not saying that there haven't been times. I mean, I can remember when I was much younger in this country, we had acid rain and a lot of different things, clearly the result of dirty smoke and that sort of thing, but I think we've done a very good job of cleaning it up. It's also very presumptuous because it says that God, this is God's universe, God's world, that we have to help God to clean up the world as it exists today, which I think is kind of a presumptuous thing. Every state this is pursuant or according to what the World Economic Forum says, every state, every nation from the United States to China must participate. Now, at this point in time, and I think at some point in the future, as we get toward that second half of the tribulation, certainly nations like China and Iran, whatever's left of Iran at that time, Russia, every nation will, at that point in time, be under the control of Antichrist. But as things stand right now, it seems kind of strange to me that China, which is very much a nationalist nation, would participate in this new global regime. And as we read through Daniel and Revelation, and we hear about the kings of the East, which is likely China and other nations coming from the Far East, you could see where they may not be a part of it, at least at first. It says every industry, from oil and gas to technology, must be transformed, wrote Klaus Schwab. Now, Klaus Schwab is the founder of the World Economic Forum. Very powerful individual. He's the one that says we need a great reset of capitalism. So if you're going to reset capitalism, you're going to replace it with a different system. And that system obviously is socialism. And we all know, listening to the news, that we have many people in this country today that feel that socialism would be worth trying. I think I heard a statistic not that long ago that younger people who have been indoctrinated by the left and primarily in colleges um, believe that socialism is, or a significant percentage, I think it's something like 46% of people in the country today feel that socialism would probably be worth trying. They have no idea of what it means. It's never worked anywhere. You know, they'll try to say that Scandinavian socialism, Sweden or wherever, works, but that's just a red herring, because those systems have a free market economy. They have social programs. They tax the people to death, but their economy is based on capitalism. So it's an apples and oranges. This new reset will not be based on capitalism. Schwab says that all aspects of societies and economies must be revamped, from education to social contracts and working conditions. Everything's got to be changed. Joining Schwab is Prince Charles and Antonio Guterres, who is the Secretary General of the United Nations, as well as many international CEOs, such as the CEOs of Microsoft and BP and others. Parts of it are organizations like Greenpeace, not a surprise, and many academics have attended many of the World Economic Forum events. Most of the details of the World Economic Forum won't be rolled out. Their next meeting was supposed to be in January, but they've put it off, I believe, until May or June to give, I believe, enough time for the new administration to take shape and to be put into place. But a lot of the details of what they plan to do specifically will be rolled out about that time. So likely will be very far-reaching programs, such as those offered by Bernie Sanders and AOC, and the Green New Deal will be touted, and at least to a degree they'll try to implement those things. In other words, we need a form of socialism. That's what's going on with the Green New Deal. And when we have this one world system, that would provide the opportunity for Antichrist to come on the scene. And with all of this happening as rapidly as it is, you have to come to the obvious conclusion that things are happening so quickly that we have to believe the rapture, which we've spent the last 3 weeks talking about, has to be very, very close. And I believe, I'm beginning to believe, and I have no inside information on this, but I just don't believe that it was God's plan to have Donald Trump serve another 4 years, that things are happening so quickly that not that he could have prevented the rapture or anything from occurring, but that would have further delayed things. So I think it's just testimony or evidence that things are happening at a breakneck pace. COVID created an important opportunity for many of the world's World Economic Forum members to initiate the radical transformation, to begin it. Prince Charles said, "It's an opportunity we've never had and may never have again." Fauci, Dr. Fauci, now saying that that we have to remain locked down well beyond, well into the summer and maybe beyond. He's a member. He's a part of the World Economic Forum. Two crises fit their agenda perfectly. One's climate change, and the other is COVID. What they need is support, which is why the WEF, the World Economic Forum, literally has put in place a vast network of left-wing radicals from all around the world. And again, the next meeting, which they're going to have in May or June, will include thousands of members of the Global Shapers community. These are youth activists located in 400 cities around the world. The Global Shapers have been involved in the past in widespread climate strikes. And in 2019, more than 1,300 of these Global Shaper members have been trained by the Climate Reality Project, which is run by, guess who? Al Gore. And Al Gore also sits on the World Economic Forum Board of Trustees. Color us surprised on that. For those who support a free market system, the Great Reset is nothing short, or should be nothing short, of terrifying. The left has shown that it can radically change political realities throughout the pandemic. We see what's happened with the lockdowns and the shutdowns and all of the other things that have happened. It's great to see, it's easy to see, not hard to see, that the Great Reset likely could, in the future, come into existence, come to fruition. So that's something that's happening. And one of the other points that I picked up on is, if you go back just a few years, even to Bill Clinton or George W. Bush, never would have allowed the printing, which is what's happening now. We're about ready to see another stimulus package put forth. And trust me, people that are around the country that are hurting need help. And I agree with that. But the comment that was made in this article is, printed trillions of dollars to send to millions of people who did not lose their jobs. It would have been unthinkable. Today, it garners bipartisan support. Just another crazy thing that's happening. Whenever they do this, as Jerome Powell just stated yesterday, they're prepared to print as much fiat money as they need to keep the system going. And we're reaching the point where the influx of all of this capital is about to go vertical, which is the last thing that happens before hyperinflation kicks in. Joe Biden. So where does he stand? Where does Biden stand? Interesting. He has close ties to the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum is destined to destroy modern capitalism and replace it with a system that embraces several left-wing social programs. For example, the Green New Deal, and to force all corporations to adopt leftist social causes. World Economic Forum, and I don't know if you've heard this term or not, but it refers to, quote, shareholder capitalism. And shareholder capitalism simply means that there are people that have 401ks, people that have investment accounts, that invest in corporations so that those corporations can go out and earn a profit. But what the World Economic Forum has done is to renounce this, quote, shareholder capitalism. The individuals can buy shares of companies, which are then expected to produce goods and services that they can sell for a profit. That's the free market system, really, in a nutshell. In July of this year, Joe Biden, interestingly, called for an end of the era of, guess what? Shareholder capitalism. He also says that the government should use, this was before the election, I think even around the time he was nominated, should use the coronavirus as justification to rewrite the social contract of the United States. He says, instead of being focused on Wall Street, which is a knock against Donald Trump, but Wall Street and capitalism kind of go hand in hand if you think about it. We may not all like Wall Street, but That's the way our system has been built. It's the free market economy. And if you think back not that long ago, unemployment was under 4%. Uh, Growth was just expanding. We had 3 to 4% quarterly GDP, results that we had never before seen. And that's because we had a free market leader who cut taxes and everything. So Biden is now calling for the end of the era of shareholder capitalism, which is right out of the World Economic Forum. He rolled out his bill. Now, you've probably seen this. I think it was a sign that was up when they accepted, or at some point, or maybe it's just been a regular thing. We're seeing the sign that the Biden and Harris use. It's called "Build Back Better." You've heard that term, possibly. Well, that's right out of the World Economic Forum playbook. It's a plan that calls for higher taxes. Then the World Economic Forum has even stated on its website, we have looked at ways to, quote, build back better, exactly what Biden and Harris have as their one of their mottos, if you will. And it's very clear that the green economic society is what's going to do it. And they're going to do it through confiscation of wealth, and they'll do that through higher taxes. If he comes into office on the 20th and decides in the middle of this pandemic to implement higher taxes, that's just one more nail in our economic coffin. So all of this that we're talking about is just code speak for expanding government power, pushing costly green infrastructure plans and substituting, increasing the authority of international institutions. It's all taking place, and now with I think with Biden and Harris in place, it's going to happen at a breakneck pace. Biden has very close ties with many members of the Great Reset. He's given speeches at World Economic Forum events. John Kerry, who is now his climate czar, came out just in the last couple of weeks and said that the Great Reset will be implemented faster than you ever thought. And he has publicly supported the Great Reset and supports reforms to the American social contract. Pete Buttigieg, just named as Secretary of Transportation, is a member of the World Economic Forum of Young Global Leaders. And his climate advisor, a guy by the name of David Victor, when he was running for office, is also affiliated with the World Economic Forum. He authored a July 20th article for Yale University entitled, quote, "Build Back Better." Why Europe? Interesting. Why Europe? Now, we know that Antichrist is going to come from the revived Roman Empire, probably out of some European nation, Western European or possibly even Eastern European nation. He's not going to be a Jew. He's not going to be a Muslim. He's going to come out of the revived Roman Empire, possibly from Brussels, who knows where, but he's going to come out of there. And this is what this guy, Victor, in his article stated for Yale, Build Back Better, quote, why Europe must lead a global green recovery. Biden has close relationships with at least 3 WEF members, including David Gore, Lawrence Fisk, who's the chairman and CEO of BlackRock. Canada is Prime Minister Trudeau has come out in support of the Green New Deal. There's a fellow in Canada who's warning that the global financial elites, the ones that are going to have the wine, at least for a period of time, are attempting to re-engineer economies and societies in order to empower the elites at the expense of the people. That's what this fellow in Canada, who was opposed to the Great Reset, has come out and stated. People are being urged to fight back at the power grab and the end plans to import and the plans to impose the Great Reset. Trudeau spoke at the United Nations. He's the Prime Minister of Canada in September. And he said, this pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality. A key element of Marxism is egalitarianism, equality, and climate change. Now we all believe in equality. Jesus spoke about equality. We're all equal in God's eyes. But in order for a free market system to exist, there have to be those that are in charge of production, the ones that have the entrepreneurship and the ingenuity to create new products and to market their products and manufacture their products and provide good paying jobs for people. That's the way the system works. You can't just take away from them and give to everybody. I think it was Margaret Thatcher who said, socialism works as long or until the society runs out of other people's money. So this is just a kind of a long-winded explanation of what the Great Reset's about. It's a serious thing. It's something that is not, I think I've mentioned this before. When I first heard about it, I thought, well, it's just some kind of conspiracy theory, but it's more than that. It's real, and it's just amazing to me that people can be so caught up in things that are just so obvious to us, obviously erroneous and won't work and hurt people. And it kind of gets to a couple of scriptures that I'd like to just finish with if I could. And I want to start in Matthew chapter 7. Talking about this deception and how people can be people that don't know the Lord, people that don't know Jesus Christ, are the ones that are always trying to build up themselves. It goes back to all the way back to the book of Genesis, where Satan was able to convince Adam and Eve that they could be like God. And interestingly, that I'm kind of getting off topic here a little bit, but one of the big movements today throughout the world is what's called shamanism. Shamanism is the pursuit of spiritual beings, and it's another word for sorcery. Sorcery has its derivation in the Greek word pharmakia, which means drugs. And drug use is what creates enlightenment and opens the mind. But what it does is it opens people to demonic control. And all of these occultic religions, be it shamanism or New Age or any of the others, if you think about it, they all say that we can be like gods. We're all gods. And so that's really what's going on here. But in Matthew chapter 7, verse 15, we read, this is where Jesus is speaking. This is the Sermon on the Mount. And he says, watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. Wolves being creatures that kill and destroy. It's a metaphor for people that come on the scene with all of these false ideas, and what we're seeing here with things like the Great Reset and socialism and all these other types of things are a symptom of something that occurred many years ago when Marx and Engels began their Marxist doctrine, which is what all of this is about. And a significant part of their belief system was that religion, anything to do with God, is nothing but an opiate. It's the opiate of the people. And all of these things, they talk about shamanism and all these other types of things where we're all gods. What socialism does is it replaces it, it kicks God out. That's part of what's going to happen with the Great Reset, is there's going to be, Christianity is going to be, like we're seeing in many places, going to be criminalized, and our freedom to worship is going to be significantly affected as an outgrowth of these false teachings that come about by these false prophets like Marx and Engels and people like that. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, by their fruit you will recognize them. And that's what Jesus is telling us. We know them by their fruits. We know them by their actions. And so just more evidence there. And then Acts chapter 20 and verse 29. I wanted to just spend a second on that as well. This is Paul writing, and what I'm really kind of getting to is all of this about all of this we've been talking about. All this talk about deception in Acts 20, verse 29. This is Paul writing, where he says, "I know that after I leave, savage wolves." There's that wolves again. He refers to it just like Jesus did back in the Sermon on the Mount. "I know that after I leave, savage wolves will come in among you and will not spare the flock. Even from your own number, men will arise and distort the truth in order to draw away disciples after them. So be on your guard. Remember that for 3 years I never stopped warning each of you of your night and day with tears. Each of you of your night and day with tears." So what Paul is saying is that these ravenous wolves are going to creep in, and they're going to spell out false doctrine, which is just kind of like a germ. If we go to the book of Jude, way back just before Revelation, in Jude chapter 3, it says in verse 3 of Jude, along the same lines of what Paul was saying, is, "Dear friends, although I was very eager to write to you about the salvation we share, I felt I had to write and urge you to contend for the faith." That's our role. You know, we're in this dark world. We're the light of the world. And we need to be contending for the faith because, as we read in 1st or 2nd Timothy, that people are going to fall for the doctrine of demons. And it's going to spread like wildfire, which is exactly what we're seeing. I felt I had to write and urge you to contend for the faith that was once for all entrusted to the saints. For certain men whose condemnation was written about long ago have secretly slipped in among you. In other words, let's just use the analogy of false doctrine that can creep into an evangelical church. if you look at many of the mainline denominational churches today, many of them have gotten off balance to the point where they even deny the deity of Jesus Christ. And it all starts with just a germ of false doctrine that creeps in. And it deceives people to the point where things like the Great Reset, and things like that, which is not what Jesus wants for this world. I'm not saying that he's a free market economist or anything like that, but he doesn't want the world in a one world system under a leader, even though it's going to happen, who claims to be like the Most High, which is where all of this is headed. But it happens very insidiously. It's a false germ or a false teaching that can grow and totally destroy a church to the point where remember Jesus said, be not deceived. As we said last week, it's not the secular world or those that don't know Christ that he's warning not to be deceived, because they're already deceived. Jesus is telling us not to be deceived and to be on the guard for false doctrine that can creep in and literally destroy a church and turn it into, or turn the culture, because we're really what should be the rudder in the culture. We should be out there telling people, hey, wait a minute, you've got all of this going on. It violates God's principles and plans and so forth. Because then to say, for certain men whose condemnation was written about long ago have secretly slipped in among you. So the way that we identify these false prophets who will ultimately destroy from within is by studying the Bible and knowing them, as Jesus says, by their fruits. They are godless men who change the grace of our God into a license for immorality and deny Jesus, our only sovereign and Lord. So these evil men that creep into the church, to the culture, to the society, will ultimately get people to deny that Jesus is our only sovereign and Lord. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening. That's what all of this stuff is all about. Make no mistake that the world is currently engaged in spiritual warfare unlike anything we've ever seen. Satan knows his time is short. He doesn't know the day or the hour any more than we do, but he knows that we are rapidly approaching the time when he is going to be cast into the abyss for 1,000 years, and his influence is going to be totally removed. So he is shortly, and again, at the midpoint of the tribulation, he's literally going to be cast out of heaven, at which time he is going to go after the Israelites in the world with a vengeance unlike anything that's ever been seen. So we're fighting not against flesh and blood, but powers and principalities. And part and parcel of all of this great reset will be the loss of religious freedom, will be the violation of the First Amendment rights. And our Constitution is not going to mean anything once this is implemented. And I have a feeling it's going to happen pretty quickly. I remember hearing it stated that that the Biden administration, again, not to be political, will do more harm in 100 days than good that's been done in 100 years. I'm not saying that we'll be in a one world system in 100 days, but you can bet, particularly if that election in Georgia doesn't go the right way, that we're going to move very rapidly. Just look at the people that he has appointed. And there are more World Economic Forum proponents than just John Kerry and Pete Buttigieg. There are more than that in this new administration. So I thought it would be interesting to see that happening. I believe that this one world system that the World Economic Forum is pursuing has to happen. and it needs to be in place or something similar to it. There needs to be there, as we just read in Revelation 13, a one world system that will allow the Antichrist that will be will be there under the leadership of Antichrist. It's setting the stage, just like all of the other things that we've been talking about. So that's it for tonight. I know I kind of rambled a bit. If anybody has a question, you can just type them in. I don't see that anybody has any, but I believe our next get together will be January the 7th or 8th. I believe we'll get either I or Mary or Bob will get an email out, and I'm hoping that the next time we get together, we'll be at the church for the movie. So that is January 7th. Will be the first Thursday in January, and I believe that that's when we'll get started. So hopefully January 7th we can watch the DVD and get back on track with that. So with that, I'm going to close, and we'll just quickly close in prayer. Father, I thank you for this time, and Lord, this is not intended to frighten anyone or to create fear, but just to prepare us so that we know the times in which we're living, and we can see the evidence. It's not just with the Great Reset, but it's what's going on in the Middle East. It's what's going on with the peace deals with Israel and the nations in Arabia, and with Iran and Turkey and Russia, with this worldwide pandemic and all of the other things that are taking place, and the exponential increase in earthquakes and famine and locusts and all of the other things that are just converging, Lord. We know, Father, that these are not coincidences. You told us these times will come. And you told us as well that these things must take place. And so, Lord, we just thank you, and we take great comfort knowing that you are totally in control. I pray for everyone on this call, Lord. I pray for our families. I pray that we have a blessed, happy, and holy holiday.